Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are here inside of the Humble Hustle Community Room, and today we have our Star City Sustainability Series presenting with us Andrea Garland with Ride Solutions, and she's going to talk with us a little bit more about driving down emissions as it relates to sustainability. We're excited to have her. And we hope to learn more today. Andrea, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. And my name is Andrea Garland. I am the director of Ride Solutions. Ride Solutions is the Transportation Alternatives Program for our region. We are a program of the Roanoke Valley Organic Regional Commission. I am going to talk about this report that the organization Transportation for America had issued this year. And it's really about exploring how our land use and our transportation decisions are intrinsically connected, and how individually and collectively we can make a difference on putting a dent on our emissions, the growth of our emissions. So I wanted to, before start, just kind of set the news of what we care about this. And I wanted to show you this video. Hopefully it has sound. I'll show you.
My name is Catherine Hunt, and I'm the president of the Freedom. I'm here today to talk about the theme for Free 2022, which is invest in our planet. Our goal is to engage more than 1 billion people, governments, and institutions, along with businesses. And by using Earth Day as a platform, we aim to push aside the barriers that have been erected by the fossil fuel industry and economy and redirect all of our attention to creating a 21st century economy that brings back the healing and health of our planet, protects all of our species, including our own, and provides opportunities for everyone on the planet. People, governments, and businesses all fear change. But the status quo, the way we live today, is changing before our eyes. In building our future, individuals, businesses, entrepreneurs, inventors, and governments each have a unique role. We need to act individually and together.
As you can see, this is the theme for Earth Day this year, but what really struck to me about this video is that people, government, and business all fear change. We all fear change. But the status quo is changing before our eyes, and we need to act together, individually and collectively, to drive change. We all know that air pollution harms people. And we also know that the climate emergency is upon us. But the tailpipe is a symbol of our worst habits. And there is a habit that we have normalized for too long. So we know that 1/3 of all greenhouse gases and emissions are attributed to the transportation sector. It is the single largest source of emissions in the United States. Transportation sector accounts for 29% of all greenhouse emissions. And the vast majority of those emissions, about 83% of those, come from cars and trucks. The cars that we drive to a grocery store, to a school, to a work, and the trucks that deliver all our services in Amazon orders. All that driving is why transportation is the only sector in the U.S. economy that has growing emissions. It is the only sector that is going in the wrong direction. In Roanoke, about 20% on the last research I've done, about 20% of all greenhouse gas emissions come from transportation. So we're not really that far behind the national average. So emissions from transportation are primarily the result of three things. Carbon fuel efficiency, vehicle efficiency, and the amount of people drive. After decades of prioritizing carbon fuel emissions efficiency and vehicle efficiency, transportation greenhouse emissions have predictably risen. And why? Because we live farther away from the things we need and the places we go, causing more people to drive more every year, and generating more emissions just to accomplish our daily needs. So emissions have risen despite the increase in fuel efficiency vehicles. And I am not here to tell you that electric vehicles are going to save the planet. Electrification of vehicles is absolutely essential. We do need zero emission vehicles, but it's not sufficient. And it's not equitable, at least not yet. So even if all Americans bought nothing but electric vehicles starting today, we will still have gas-powered vehicles for at least 15 years in our roads. This is probably the most important slide in my presentation, and it's that, so again, electrifying the fleet will need to bring numerous benefits, but simple changes to allow more people to live in places where they can drive less and take shorter trips will be vital for making up the difference. So this symbol, emissions and the impact on transportation and climate and communities go beyond the tailpipe. They go beyond the cars. They come from the entire sector, the building of our transportation system. So climate impacts go beyond emissions by just the heat island effect that gets generated by the pavement where we drive our cars. The environment and health impacts go beyond the climate impacts just by the increase in water runoff and habitat loss due to our construction practices. Health and safety impacts go beyond the environment completely by the increase in number of fatalities and injuries on our roadway system that particularly affect vulnerable users. Equity impacts go beyond health and safety. When we build infrastructure that disconnects our communities from the opportunities they seek and the needs they require. So we can make a huge impact on climate just by driving less. But we also have to realize that we are victims of a car-centered world. So we are emitting more because we are driving more. And just a little bit of history. So since World War II in the United States until very recently, every development has been planned and built on the assumption that people will travel by car. And so car trips keep increasing and the number and the distance of those car trips keep increasing. While walking and public transportation has been pretty much flat and not receiving enough investment. This is what planners know as urban sprawl. You might have heard that, which is the planning of communities disconnected from the services they need and are only accessible by car. The problem with the built environment and the transportation system is that require more driving and that also leads to passport burdens and limited economy opportunities that usually fall the hardest on our minority communities. Here's a representation of what sprawl looks like in our city. So right here on the right, and I guess the pointer doesn't work, so right here on the right, that's Highland Park Elementary School. It's the oldest school in Brooklyn. It's nestled in the old Southwest neighborhood, surrounded by small roads, connected by sidewalks, connected to parks, schools, and other services. Here on the left, right here, that's Oak Grove Elementary School. directly connected to a 6-lane divided highway. The neighborhoods around the school are completely detached from the school. So every single trip that could potentially be a walking school trip becomes a car trip just by default of the design. And that's what we've been doing. So I guess that's where we are. So are we doing? I guess we live here. That's what we have, and we do something. Reducing transportation emissions and reducing the distance we drive are both needed and possible. And I guess that's my pitch for our solutions. We need to stop chasing this impossible standard that tells us that everyone has to drive their own car everywhere. Ride Solutions' mission is to promote and connect individuals to transportation options in the Vernon Valley. We promote and we help to reduce traffic congestion and improve our quality by reducing the impacts of vehicle emissions. So at the personal level, and I'm going to show you how, I think each one of us can take action by choosing or trying a mode of transportation different from driving alone. And depending where you live or your particular situation, I think you can find a way in our community to make a difference. The city of Roanoke, Salem, and Benton are connected via transit by Valley Metro. In the city of Roanoke, the downtown trolley connects downtown to the Carolian offices and the Virginia Tech Carolian complex in South Roanoke, and it is free. Regionally, transit connects Roanoke to the New River Valley via the SmartWay bus, and it's only $4 a trip. I actually just recently realized that. I don't travel there, but I didn't realize it's only $4. Amtrak connects us to Lynchburg, Charlottesville, and Norfolk, Virginia. So we do have options. But if your situation is that you have no commutes, but you live between jurisdictions in our region, in a relatively predictable schedule, like an 8 to 5 schedule kind of thing, you can try carpooling with your coworkers, or better yet, like there are situations where we can actually help your company establish a van pool program. And when van pooling, the cost of maintenance and upkeep of your vehicle is completely eliminated. If you live within 2 or 3 miles of your work, school, shopping, entertainment, or near a greenway or a walkable neighborhood, you could give walking, biking, or scooting a try. Even if you have a flexible schedule and remote work options and you're just teleworking, that actually counts too. The point that is like every trip that you do not take as a single driver counts and impacts the driving emissions of our community. But we can claim some things a priority, we don't measure it. Last year was a big year for telecommuting. In our region, we reduced about 20,000 vehicle trips. Just were eliminated from our community, eliminated about 300,000 pounds of carbon emissions in our community. So your impact is measurable and it can make a difference. So I think to wrap up, I wanted to just kind of give you a couple calls of action, easy and simple, because that's kind of the point. So first, become a Ride Solutions member. We actually have a membership program, and start tracking your trips. Again, every trip that you track that you are not taking as a single occupancy vehicle impacts the region, and we can measure and track that impact. And you can get free stuff too. Actually, you gain points, and these points you can exchange them for discounts at your local shops, or you can enter in raffle prizes from $25 to $100 every month. That is one, and I can tell you how to do that. So even if you're already telecommuting or walking to work, you might as well become a member, track it, and make an impact, and you can get prizes anyway. This is very important, is participate and be active in the conversation. Because I work for the regional government, we're very involved on how transportation decisions and how investment gets done in different sectors of our economy, but especially in transportation. So out of the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, Virginia will receive $1.6 billion for transportation allocations over the next 5 years. And it is totally up to the local governments to decide how that money will be spent. So public participation can drive attention to projects that will invest in public and active transportation. Your task is to go to our website, sign up to be part of our public involvement newsletters, and all you do is when they send you that survey, take a 5-minute survey, give your voice. You can also attend our public meetings. That's a little bit more work, but either way, the only way to influence our transportation system is going to be, is going to shape out is by your participation. Otherwise, what this cartoon is telling you is that, rest assured, if we don't raise our voice, more of the same will just continue to happen. The same projects will get funded, we'll continue to build roads, we'll continue to build separation, we'll continue to disinvest in this idea of community, So, simply put, we will never achieve ambitious climate targets or create more livable and equitable communities if we do not find ways to allow people to get around outside of their car. So again, we need to stop chasing the impossible standard that everyone has to drive their own car everywhere. I think millions of Americans would love to live in places that guarantee shorter trips, fewer trips, more ways to get around, safer streets, whether climate change isn't their motivator factor or not. And that's the presentation. So it's just simple and straightforward. It really is like, if we don't stop driving less, we'll just, like the curve goes, like you get more vehicle efficiency, more fuel efficiency, and you get electric cars, but because we live farther and farther away, and we drive more and more, and our households are also like, that implies in a household as well, like how many cars are in your household, how many trucks get driven just by one household, because of the same situation, like, you have to go to the same after school programs and all of this, and generating more and more, and that's how our society is living. So unless we make specific direction and making changes on that, at least in the United States, we will not see change in emissions. English. Did I guilt you into anything?
Yeah, I have a question. I know there's been a lot of investment recently, because I've seen it happening, in upgrading bike lanes and improving safety of bike lanes, and I was just wondering, as far as you're aware, is that going to be an ongoing investment where those bike lanes are going to be expanded, or is there another priority the city's moving to? Just
So from the city perspective, I actually can talk very much about that. My previous job before I joined Dry Solutions was a city traffic engineer. So I was behind a lot of those projects that you were talking about.
Awesome.
There is definitely at the leadership level, there's that vision is there. And the Roanoke City itself has a lot of opportunities because again, we're all centers for the most part. Like even in this community right here, like, you know, we might have, the economic development part might be like kind of stuck for now, but like if you see the roadway, you still have a smaller roadway with sidewalks. So there's definitely at the leadership level, the way those projects have been done is based on the paving schedule. So the roads get paved the main roads get paved every 5 to 6 years. As a maintenance, that's our maintenance schedule. So it was taking that leadership of like, you know, like once you pave the road, you're already put in the work and the money, and you can make transformations on allowing, basically prioritizing the vulnerable users over the car. So in the example of Brandon Avenue, if you think about what it used to be, that was a 4-lane road.
Yeah.
The main constraint to being able to do anything was the assumption that the traffic was going to back up, and that you couldn't change it because you were going to create a traffic jam. And to my standards, even if that was the case, would that really be a problem? Right? But because we, like the leadership at the transportation division invested in like putting the effort, analyzing and doing the tryouts and all of that, then we were able to not only show them no, it's not backing up, it's making actually more efficient. Like if you have less obstacles and less choices as you're driving. You're making better decisions, but it's also prioritizing the people that walk and bike on that corridor. So yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's important to participate. If you're in the city of Roanoke, you have a little bit more direct way to participate and influence those decisions, because the city of Roanoke maintains their own roads, and you know, if you're out in the county like that situation with Oak Grove, you have a little bit more bureaucracy around like the state maintains the roads. But there's definitely, again, with the infrastructure bill, the way it's set up, the money is being sent to the states with almost very little constraints. There's a lot of programs that you can apply under, so like a locality can apply for funding through various different programs, but it's ultimately up to the locality to decide which programs they're going to apply for, or whether they're even going to apply. And if they do get the money for infrastructure, you know, are they going to fix what's here, or they're going to build another lane on 581? So that's kind of the influence that is.
Right. Thank you.
Is there interest, city government, in disincentivizing the development of more sprawl and instead incentivizing more mixed use?
I mean, at the city of Roanoke level, yes, their planning vision is very ambitious in that regard. And the city of Roanoke is constrained by growth. It's not going to grow anymore. I think that there's got to be more influence from grassroots to influence that decisions elsewhere. But you know, one thing that I think our community has a value is, you know, our rural towns. Like we are very rural, but those rural towns, if you go into the rural town, you see that small main street, small connection of kind of services and all that is very valuable. And it's very valuable for that community as well.
Those you know, a lot of those main streets are dead.
Well, again, economic development and land use, that's all how it all plays a part. Like that's kind of, you know, you can be here, but if you're not connected to the things you need and desire, and then you're still going to have to drive, even if you are, you know, living here or surrounded by empty buildings. So.
One of the things to piggyback on what Diana said was I've noticed I live out near Holland, so I travel Plantation, and the sidewalks aren't contiguous. You'll have a stretch where they have some and then a stretch where they aren't. And that's something I've noticed that I feel like, because we've had recent reports just in the past couple of years of people being hit and on that road in the dark because they are walking on the streets instead of having sidewalks to walk on. And I don't know, this probably ties back to your previous position, but is there an effort to make more neighborhoods accessible with sidewalks for those who do walk?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is to a certain extent. I attended a recent presentation from the city of Roanoke. They actually had inventory of all of the sidewalks, so they actually know now. Believe it or not, they didn't know. But now, with technology and all of this, they have been able to inventory all of the sidewalks. And I think they are, I can't remember exactly, but it's actually a whole lot of sidewalks, more than you would have thought. But yeah, again, we're victims of how things were developed and like our land use and our, not land use, but our developing, urban development guidelines for many years. So in the city until very recently, I mean maybe a decade ago or so, was instituted that new development has to install sidewalks. But that's something that, for instance, at the county level is not happening or in other places. But if you're having a new development, you have to install sidewalk. But yes, ultimately there's a lot of need for sidewalk. And ideally, and I think there is a goal. The thing with sidewalk is like it's really expensive. So in terms of resources, and it's not something you can see immediately happening, but I think it's being more attached to, for instance, right now, the way a lot of city investments are happening is through the neighborhood developing target areas. So very recent, the target area was this area. So the investments were done to improve sidewalk and connections along Melrose, like Melrose over here. And that is happening right now. There's actually a project happening right now. Now that investment area is in Southeast. And that is, that's one over the next 5 years you will see that. So as that program moves around, I think that's the way the cities can to maximize resources to improve that. But again, if there were any county residents here, I would like to encourage you to, like right now, they're going through a vision plan development, and it is important to at least bring your voice and like show up. And when I was hearing something I saying that it's the difference is when a big project, a big investment is happening, usually people are opposed to it, show up. And the people who really care or like have like genuine intentions sends a letter. So no, like you have to show up and make your voice heard. So like Brandon Avenue, for instance, even though it was a project that I thought it was a good idea and like I pursued, the first time I mentioned it, I was given a hard no. Like he was like, no, you can't. You're gonna mess up traffic on hours, and like everybody's just gonna be. And it took like people of the community going to city council and talking about it and saying, we want you to at least study it, to be where we are now. So, it's always important.
Well, thank you for advocating for that, because I live near there, and I think it's great. And the turn lane, it like takes all the slow traffic, and everybody just gets people out.
Yeah, and I think another cool thing is like they apply technology where like they synchronize all the signals. So actually, if you drive the speed limit in the whole corridor, you don't get a red light.
That's how I come into work, so yes.
I mean, we tested we drove it over and over and over and over again. And it's to the now.
Yeah, I'm like riding my bike up to Fresh Market, and it's just way better now.
Oh yeah, good for you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Very informative.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.